Welcome back. You're watching Mirror at 1. In a big verdict, the 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court overturned a 1998 ruling that granted lawmakers immunity from prosecution for accepting bribes to make speeches or cast votes in the legislature. Now, the top court verdict says that the act of bribery is a criminal offence and is a poison to democracy. It also stated that immunity erodes probity in public life and that lawmakers are not above the law. The 1998 Supreme Court judgment was made in connection with the JMM MPs bribery case, in which members of parliament allegedly took bribes to vote in support of the PV Narasimha Rao government in 1993. The government had survived the no confidence motion. To, of course, further understand his perspective, I do have my guest joining me on the show, Parvez Memon, Senior Partner, MSM Legal LLP. Mr. Memon, appreciate you taking the time out and joining us here this afternoon. I'm going to come back to you in a couple of minutes. Just let's quickly listen in to all those reactions, and then, of course, I'll come back to you to understand your perspective.
साथ के साथ जजों ने एक मत से कहा है कि पैसा लेकर वोट देना राज्यसभा के चुनाव में या पैसा लेके संसद में सवाल पूछना या पैसा लेके विधानसभा में सवाल पूछना, ये बिल्कुल ऑफेंस है।
स्पीच भी कवर होता है?
स्पीच के मामले में उन्होंने कहा है कि अगर वो अभी पैसा देके अगर स्पीच दिया है तो वो भी उसमें कवर हो जाएगा। अगर ये कहीं प्रूव हो जाता है कि अगर पार्लियामेंट में जो स्पीच दी गई है वो पहले उससे पैसा ले लिया गया है उस स्पीच देने के लिए, तो डिफरेंटली कोई इम्यूनिटी नहीं होगी। जैसे तहसीलदार के खिलाफ मुकदमा चलता है, थानेदार के खिलाफ मुकदमा चलता है, वैसे ही एमएलए एमपी के खिलाफ भी मुकदमा चलेगा, भ्रष्टाचार का मुकदमा चलेगा। और अच्छी बात यह है कि एमएलए एमपी कोर्ट जो बनी है सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, उसमें ये मैटर ट्रांसफर नहीं हो रहे थे उस नरसिम्हा राव वाले जजमेंट के कारण। अब ये इस टाइप के जो केस हैं, जो पैसा लेके वोटिंग हुई है, ये सारे मुकदमे एमएलए एमपी कोर्ट में ट्रांसफर हो जाएंगे और साल भर के अंदर उनका भी फैसला होगा।
तो बड़े बड़े रिमार्क्स की बोला है चीफ जस्टिस ने, बिग ऑब्जर्वेशंस इन दिस मैटर।
बिल्कुल, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है कि ये जो ब्राइबरी है, एमएलए एमपी के द्वारा ब्राइबरी है, ये पॉइजन है डेमोक्रेसी के लिए, ये डेमोक्रेसी के लिए कैंसर है, इसको रोकना बहुत जरूरी है। इसलिए जो संविधान में इम्यूनिटी दी गई थी वो फ्री स्पीच के लिए इम्यूनिटी दी गई थी, पैसा दे के स्पीच देने के लिए इम्यूनिटी नहीं दी गई थी।
कैसे देखते हैं ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट का फैसला स्वच्छ पॉलिटिक्स की तरफ, कि यानी कि इम्यूनिटी जो थी मेंबर पार्लियामेंट को, लेजिस्लेटर को, जो वो पैसे लेकर वोट दिया करते थे, वो अब खत्म कर दिया, यानी कि अब उनको भी सजा हो सकती है।
लोगों के लिए अच्छी बात है, जो लोग वोटर्स हैं उनके लिए अच्छी बात है। लेकिन पहली बात यह है कि खरीद कौन रहा है। ये जो चंडीगढ़ में हुआ वाक़ा रिसेंटली, जिसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कॉग्निजेंस ली, हिमाचल में हुआ, क्रॉस वोटिंग हुई, बिहार में हुआ, गोवा में हुआ, महाराष्ट्र में हुआ, ये कौन लोग हैं? ये वो लोग हैं जो दावा करते हैं कि हम स्वच्छ भारत का अभियान कर रहे हैं, हम हर सतह पे सफाई कर रहे हैं। यहाँ क्यों नहीं सफाई हो पाई? और मैं समझता हूँ कि इसके साथ ज़रूरी बात है कि लेजिस्लेशन एक आ जाना चाहिए कि एक आदमी जब इलेक्ट हो जाता है, जिस मैंडेट पे इलेक्ट हो जाता है, उसको क्रॉस वोटिंग की इजाज़त नहीं होनी चाहिए, दूसरी तरफ जाने की इजाज़त नहीं होनी चाहिए। अगर वो जाना चाहता है, वो किसी के ऊपर डिस्प्यूट करता है, डिफरेंसेस हैं, तो वो री इलेक्ट होके जाए।
Landmark judgment coming in from the 7-judge Supreme Court bench led by the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, which in fact which will go a long way in cleansing politics. In the interest of Swachh politics, we must say the Supreme Court has very clearly said that lawmakers taking bribes for voting, in fact, erodes it's a danger to the polity and democracy and erodes probity in public life, and also said that bribery cannot be a subject matter of immunity, and the privileges enjoyed by the parliamentarians and members of legislative assembly is for ensuring that they can work freely, and it is not for ensuring that lawmakers are above law. And very, very big observations in the judgment, which in fact the Supreme Court 7-judge bench has set aside the 1998 judgment in the Narasimha Rao case, popularly known as JMM bribery case, in which 10 MPs had taken bribes to vote for, and in fact to save the Narasimha Rao government, and Supreme Court had, by a 3-2 judgment, said that parliamentarians under Article 105(2), 194(2) enjoyed immunity and cannot be prosecuted for taking bribes for voting. but that immunity goes today. This Chief Justice bench, 7-judge bench, has set aside that particular judgment and said that this immunity cannot sustain.
Mr. Memon, I appreciate you staying on with us patiently as we listen to, of course, those reactions, and my colleague as well breaking that down for us. But what do you make of this? And most importantly, just for our viewers to better understand this, what is the significance of the fact that now the top court has overturned the previous judgment?
Well, Nivedna, of late, we have witnessed cross-voting in Himachal Pradesh during the Rajya Sabha elections. We have also seen that Mahua Moitra has been accused of asking questions in the House against Adani Group at the behest of some Hiranandani sitting in Dubai. In Maharashtra, we have seen Sena MLAs shifting from Shiv Sena and NCP MLAs shifting from NCP, giving birth to Sena UBT and NCP Sharad Pawar. During such times, the judgment of this 7-bench judge of the Honorable Supreme Court is indeed laudable. And so also is the centre stand all throughout the hearing that it has fairly opposed such immunity granted. It only reflects the Modi government's good intent for good practice. We can now hope for better accountability, transparency, morality, and probity within the corridors of the Parliament and state assemblies. It is right law that Parliament privilege should not shield lawmakers and immunity should not place them above law. As rightly observed by the Honorable Supreme Court, the purpose of Article 105, Clause 2 of the Constitution of India is only to ensure that they discharge their duties without fear. It should not be construed to mean that they do it against any favor. You know, as a lawyer, we have handled hundreds of cases under the Prevention of Corruption Acts in the corridors of courts, where we have seen that the sanctioning authority has to apply its judicial mind to come to a conclusion that the act for which this government servant is being prosecuted does not fall within his duties. So same protection would be awarded to these public servants. However, a blanket immunity to parliamentarians and legislators should not have been granted in the first place. So the JMM judgment, which was the subject matter of the review, irony of the fact is that it again went through JMM's Shibu Soren's daughter-in-law to the Supreme Court for reconsideration. And now the Supreme Court has set the record right by taking away that immunity so granted. So it's indeed a laudable order, and it would go long way to protect the moralities within the corridors of the Parliament.
Mr. Memon, as you make those opening remarks, you also made a mention of Mahua Moitra. And, in terms of that, how do you see this impacting the case as well, considering we had spoken about the fact earlier about constitutional immunity?
Yes, indeed. Now that the CBI has received the complaint, and if this immunity has gone, which was all along being pleaded in the courts, in the High Court or in the Supreme Court, now I believe in the light of this judgment, the doors for the CBI to prosecute, if at all she is guilty of the offense. Now it rests as an accusation.
Right.
So she has to prove her case. The accuser has to prove his case. We are not going into the facts of the matter, but the point remains that it has opened the doors to the investigation to proceed in accordance with law.
One of the other top remarks made by the Supreme Court is that lawmakers are surely not above the law. How do you view that as well? Because it is a strong message that's being sent out.
Yes, that is the basic of the Constitution of India, that everybody is equal in the eyes of the law, be it the king or be it the servant, be it the messenger or be it a millionaire. Everybody has to be equal in the eyes of law, and you cannot claim immunity for your unfair practices. Nobody is questioning your acts of duties and privileges that are granted to you by being a parliamentary or elected legislature. But the fact remains that if you resort to unfair practices which are criminal in nature and which fall within the purview of the Prevention of Corruption Act, you cannot seek immunity thereof.
Right, Mr. Memon, I appreciate you joining us on the broadcast to share with us your perspective, how you see this. And like you said, it was the need of the hour. But for the moment, we're going to leave it at that. We're slipping into a quick break here on Mirror at 1. More news on the other side. Stay with us. We're going to be right back.